Hi, Ross.
Hey, hello.
How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Just making the best of the situation and staying in a lot, but trying to get things done and trying to stay mentally happy and so like everybody else.
You look mentally happy.
Uh, you're not the first person that said that. Thank you.
Good. I am happy for that. Look, Ross, I'm very happy to have you here in my channel, La Buena Internacional 2.0. And I am very happy, like I told you before, to call you because you are the first invited ever, which I am talking English with, interviewing in English. Then I am
Wow.
very happy for that.
Well, thank you. And you know what? Just oddly enough, this is the first interview I've ever done in English.
It's not true. But I suppose that you probably will be used to my accent. I don't know if Maria have the same accent than me in English because she's Venezuelan like me, but she has an advantage over me because she lives in Vancouver with you. Then she lives in English every day, not me. I live in French because I live in Quebec.
Yeah, I know. Or with a lot of her friends and family that are visiting, or when I visit there, I'm very used to the whole spectrum of speaking in English, and also sometimes in my fractured Spanish. Sometimes when I'm in Venezuela, the only way I can communicate is to talk on my level of Spanish skills, which, there were times when I was really much more adept at speaking Spanish because I was really more immersed in the studying of it and speaking with it. Like, for instance, when I'm in Venezuela, I'm forced to use it a lot. Whereas like now with nobody visiting and things like that, and with Maria, of course, like we're working on film, so we're keeping everything business-like and in English and whatever. So I don't get a chance to practice my Spanish that much.
Okay, but today I will not let you talk in Spanish because I want to practice my English. Then.
Okay, well, gracias. Oops, I spoke Spanish.
A la orden, muy bien. But the first thing that I want to tell you to you and to all the people that will see the channel and this interview, because I find that phrase is like a perfect phrase for somebody that is Spanish speaking like me and doesn't speak English quite perfect, is the phrase that Celia Cruz, do you know Celia Cruz?
Yes.
The salsa woman that was the queen of the salsa. I love her. She used to say always, excuse me, because my English is not very good looking.
Nice.
I love that phrase. I love it. Then I'm going to take it from her because I love her. So after this, say that, I'm very happy because I am interviewing you and because you are one of the filmmakers, but you are the first indie filmmaker that I know personally, even if it's through the computer and through Maria. And at the same time, I have seen almost all your filmography, because I saw A Legacy of Whining, which I think that was in 2016.
Correct.
Exactly. Yep. I saw The Broken Palace, your documentary short film in 2017.
Yeah, it came out in 2014, but it played festivals for a couple of years, and so yeah, that's close. It's very close. Yeah.
Okay. And I see the European Tour 73. So I feel like I saw a lot of your things, which I love, really. Yes, and I feel that people like you that are doing indie films, I have a great deal of admiration for you because it's not easy to do that. You are like independent producer. You and Maria, your wife and producer, you are doing everything, and in your time juggling with another all obligations. I can rely on that because me too, I make a lot of things at the same time. I know that it's not easy. We make production, writing, promotion, everything. And I know that you are the writer, filmmaker, director, and even actor. Like I would like that you talk with our viewers about how you find that you could do everything of that, and what called you to make films, to make movies.
Uh, well, I think like, growing up, as you allude to, our latest documentary short, European 73, is a look back to my family and even my own past from the early 70s. And one of the things we talk about in that movie was just as a kid growing up, I had a love for movies. And I think it probably, if you talk to most filmmakers that are making films now, they'll tell you that, if you probably common bond that connects us all is that usually we'll go back to the idea that we just loved going to movies and just were super passionate about going to movies as kids, right? There's just something about that. And that passion just stuck with us. And maybe at the time, like for instance, when I was young, I never thought I was going to be a filmmaker, but for sure. But I mean, I just knew that I was super passionate about films and that it was always going to be a big obsession and part of my life. And then once I got into my late teens and early adulthood, I actually thought of doing that as a career. And then I decided to go to film school and to formalize, my pursuit of filmmaking and just to learn as much as about it. Because I knew filmmaking in terms of my passion for watching movies and loving movies. And I had a good encyclopedic knowledge of different movies and filmmakers. But I wanted to learn the actual, skills of filmmaking. I wanted to learn how to use the equipment. I wanted to use, this is of course, several decades ago when the way to make films, you had to learn how to use all this equipment. There was a standard form of equipment that you had to learn how to use. And a lot of the equipment was very expensive and it was not something you had access to. So you had to go to film school to really get your hand on an expensive 16 millimeter camera and all these things and editing facilities. Now it's different. Now you can make cool looking movies on your phone and iPads and, cheaper video kind of thing. So that's really where a lot of that started. And then I just started to actually make the films once I got out of film school. Like I would write and produce and direct. And probably at the beginning, I was shooting the films as well and doing a lot of that stuff. And until I eventually, started to, with each film got a little bit bigger and got a little bit more knowledgeable and experienced. And I was able to, just keep elevating, what I was trying to do with film and just keep trying to learn, because the only way you really learn as a filmmaker is you just got to make films. Like,
Doing it.
you just got to
Exactly.
do it. Yeah, you just
Exactly.
got to do it. I mean, you can take courses and you can learn, but there is a point where you just got to make the films and just don't be too self-conscious about, expecting it to be perfect. There's a very small percentage of people that start initially with filmmaking and they're geniuses at it, just like anything, right?
Yeah. And
So,
I believe that in every place, in every field, if you don't jump in the pool, you will never do it. Because if you overthinking all the time to do it, I will do it when I will be perfect. I will do it when I'll be ready. You will never be ready. You will never be perfect. Then we need to jump in the pool and get wet. It's like that.
right.
Then I really would like that you explain a little bit to our viewers what is the difference of what we call indie films and why we call it like that.
Yeah, well, I think, the idea of indie films is obviously, I mean, technically, the definition of an indie film is anything that's not affiliated with a Hollywood studio or, really was the original definition. And then, like, when I started making films, like in the late 1980s, et cetera, I mean, there was a very easily definable thing because there was the Hollywood studio system and there was everything else. Now it's different because now you can have independent films, which are films that are made outside of the realm of Hollywood studios that still cost $50 million and $30 million and stuff. But so the true sort of original meaning of indie film was usually this idea that you were really making films extremely removed from mainstream filmmaking or any kind of like typical financing Hollywood model or whatever. So really what it was really indie filmmaking, and this is the spirit we still use with a lot of our films, when we make them, is you're really like kind of financing them yourself, or you're trying to find the financing yourself. You're really like from the grassroots, you're really making the films yourself, and you really, in a way, you really just answer to yourself. And that is the hardship of sometimes with indie filmmaking, is that, you know, you do have to find the money and the time and everything to try to get these films made. But the one good thing with that is that you have total control over the project, and you really only, at the end of the day, you kind of answer to your own master, which is yourself. You know, you don't have a studio giving you notes, or other people say, hey, we gave you $1 million to make your movie. We've seen what you've done. We want you to change X, Y, and Z, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So the one good thing is you get a total autonomy, creative autonomy. And that's, you know, and then you make all the decisions. You hire who you want in the film. You do, like, for instance, with, you mentioned A Legacy of Whining, which was a feature film that we did. I actually acted in that film. And because it was in one of the main roles, because as an indie film, and have it being our film, we were able to determine, you know, who we wanted to put in the movie, et cetera. We didn't have pressures where they said, hey, can you get this actor from a TV show? Because we really need this to try to sell the movie, you know, in theaters, et cetera. So we were able to kind of experiment a little bit and go with choices that were more like our own gut feelings and things that we believed in doing, without having to sort of answer to a bigger corporate kind of mentality.
Finally, you are free, and that it is priceless. You know, you are free to do what you want, and that is really priceless. And in other tone, yes, you choose what you want when you want, and but you really like to act at the same time to direct a film, because I find I am an actress, and I put me in the place of somebody that I have to do both things. I will not know how to do both things, but you are a director more than an actor, or an actor more a director. How do you feel?
No, I definitely feel more of like a filmmaker. Like, that's my first priority, was a filmmaker. But with Legacy of Whining, we knew all along that, you know, I had studied as an actor, and I did have aspirations as an actor. And we thought, we always knew with that project, with that feature, that, you know, that I was going to play one of the principal characters. And so that was part of that journey of that film. And it is an interesting experience to direct yourself. So, you know, really what it comes down to for me, like, you know, I think it's something that a lot of filmmakers do. A lot of filmmakers historically have acted in some of their films. And I think it's really about preparation. And when you get to the set, the idea is I like to be more in my actor shoes when I'm on the set, you know, than I am. I like to think that probably in advance I've gone over with Maria, you know, as you talked about, as my producer and my wife, and let's say our cinematographer and all the main art departments, et cetera, costume, et cetera, and the other actors. And I've done all that due diligence and communication as the director prior to filming, so that as much as possible when I'm on set, I can be more into an actor's mindset, you know. And luckily with Legacy of Whining, as it's a comedy, it wasn't something that, like, it was something I was able to jump easily in and out of character to get to the, you know, to
it's not like you were in a very very deep and emotional
go back as the actor, because it wasn't like, it'd be different if I was doing Streetcar Named Desire or something. Yeah, something really deep and heavy, where I was really emotional, and it was like really psychological, torturous. I have to be in my process all the time. Whereas this was something like, it wasn't. I mean, I take it seriously as a character, as an actor, but I also know that, you know, the process for being that character still allows me some flexibility to sort of jump back and forth into my director's role.
Now, I would like to ask you, Rose, because you have until now you have two documentary, no, that are Broken Palace and European Tour, which are very different one from another.
Right.
And Legacy of Whining, which is a fiction film, and the other one, Brewster McGee, that is the only one that I didn't saw until now. I haven't seen it until now. But I would like that you told me a little bit to our viewers. For you, what is more like rewarding, to do fiction films or documentary? Because the process is completely different. And, you know, between the Broken Palace, that was something, even if you are a filmmaker and you love cinema and everything, film and everything, it's not the same to do that than to do a personal story like an European tour that is the story of your father and your grandfather. Then how do you feel better doing fiction things that they are not necessarily autobiographical than to do it like documentary personal stuff?
Well, that is a really good question. And I think the first thing that comes to my mind is that whether you're doing documentary, and this is probably why I'm able to shift easily from documentary to fiction films, feature films, fiction, is that with both of those genres of films, feature, fiction and documentary, is the thing that links them together is no matter either or, you're always focused on storytelling. So that is, so in some ways they can be seen as very different from each other in terms of an artistic process and what you're trying to do as a filmmaker. But in a lot of ways, they're very similar in the sense that you're trying to peel away and really like put light onto the story. So for instance, in the case of, Broken Palace and European Tour 73, even though they're documentaries, they also still tell I was able to tell a personal story through those documentaries. Just like, and oddly enough, just like in a feature film like Legacy of Whining, which is fictional, I'm still able, through the story of that film and the characters, I still was able to put a lot of autobiographical information of things that, like things, for instance, that movie's about an actor. It's a comedy about a struggling actor. So I was actually able to, even though it's a comedy and I was trying to create some humorous situations, I still was able to put a lot of my painful experiences that I had early on, like when I had an agent and I was going to auditions and things, and it was just like such a nerve-wracking, debilitating experience to go through those auditions. And I was able to take that actual very real sort of painful and realistic experiences that I had, and I was able to sort of put that in a fictional film and sort of give it the guise of comedy or whatever. So and of course, like, you're right. I mean, in the sense that, documentaries obviously are different in terms of just how you approach them physically to make them. You could, like with both my documentaries, we shoot them piecemeal, like we would, maybe you use photographs, you can use some Super 8 footage, archival footage, you can film a few things, but you typically don't need a big cast and crew and things like that. Whereas with A Legacy of Whining and Brewster McGee, which were features, the obvious difference being, you obviously need way more collaborators. You got to have you got to cover every aspect of the crew, of the cast. So really you as the director, you really are like sitting on top of a huge crew of people, like an army of people that you show up on the set and there's 25 people and everybody's looking to you like, should I do this? Where do you want this? Whatever. So just the from the tactical standpoint, when you're doing a feature, as the director, you are like on top of so many moving parts and different people. Like you're literally like a general in charge of an army, whereas like I said, when you shoot a documentary, it could just be me and Maria and maybe a camera person and maybe one other person, and you're shooting, as you go, and you don't have to deal with that level of huge production headaches, so to speak, right? So, so there is, so like I said, there's the similarities and some in the artistic, creative aspect where you're trying to go for story, no matter what the genre is. And then there's the obvious differences in terms of just the physical aspect of making the film, where, the feature film obviously is like, you're taking on like it's much more involved and probably much more fatiguing, and it's being done over a short period of time. And it really, like, I mean, you literally get home at night and you're preparing changes for the next day and you got to get up at 6, whatever, and you can barely sleep at night because you're thinking about all the things you want to do tomorrow on the set. So when you do the feature films, they're really all consuming for that period of time when you're shooting.
But you personally, you prefer which one? Like I know that both are different, and big difference in the making and in the process and everything, but do you find equally rewarding, or you feel better? Because until now it's like you are 50-50, no? You are doing the same
Right.
quantity of fictional and documentary. for you, like in your intimate inner self, what do you feel that you prefer better and that you feel better doing it?
And this, I mean, this sounds like the cliche answer, but you know, like if you look at the sort of the example of, say, your films as your children, for instance,
Exactly.
it's
Then
like,
you cannot prefer one for more
yeah,
than
like
the other.
you love doing them all, and they all mean something, and so really, like I don't have a preference. If I had a preference, it's not so much whether it's, you know, which style of filmmaking I want to do. It's more sometimes, you know, I'm always my most passionate sometimes about my latest projects, you know, or not even the ones that I've just done. Sometimes like I have to keep myself in check because I get super excited sometimes thinking about future projects, and you know what I mean. And I realize, well, wait a minute, we've got these other kids that we've given birth to and they're in the world, so you know you always have to give them love and you have to get them, you know,
Yeah.
there's always social media things that you can be promoting and marketing your film. So you know you get to a point where you know you kind of have to see everything you've created, you
You
know, that
cannot
you're,
abandon them. You
yeah,
cannot
you're
abandon
equally invested in everything. And at the end of the day, you know, like I might say, hey, I really like European Tour 73 the best. It's my latest film. And then someone else might say, hey, I really love Broken Palace. And I go, oh yeah,
them.
you know what? Maybe Broken Palace is my favorite or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm always kind of like, you know, it's like my favorite films, you know, like one day it's Apocalypse Now, and one day it's The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and one day it's Citizen Kane. And
Yeah, it's
I'm all
different.
over the place, right? So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I guess, you know, in some ways that's kind of a cliche answer, but I do love doing them
No,
all
I understand.
because they all give me different, like for instance with the
Satisfaction.
documentary, it allows me to use different, I can use different techniques, which
Mhm.
allows me to you know, to really elevate and to hone those techniques that I don't get to use on a feature film, right? So and vice
Perfect.
versa, like on vice versa with feature film, I get to work with actors, and that's a really rewarding, exciting, challenging thing, to work with talent and actors and really, you know, so there's just certain things that are very, you know, taken as a whole, I feel like it's allowing me to use my whole toolkit.
Exactly, exactly. But now going to your last or your recent film, that is European Tour 73,
Right.
uh, because we are going to round it, our interview. I know that you did it recently under the time that we cannot go outside and present the film and everything, because it was in this 2020, what is has been a kind of bizarre. We don't gonna go into that,
Right.
but how do you make to put the film outside in platforms, in festivals that I know you put it, and it's still going on? Uh, During this time, how did you get to do the promotion and present it outside? Because this is a kind of different promotion than past years, because I know that you passed through that with Legacy of Whining and Broken Palace and everything, but it was a real platform to go outside, present it in festivals and everything. Now it's different. How did you find it that?
Well, yeah, no, that's interesting. That is something that is the new reality that I think a lot of creatives and just people, whether just in the industry or just people with their whatever their jobs and careers and things are, that's been the challenge. We actually finished the film well before uh, COVID-19. But it's funny, we got accepted into our first film festival of end of March of this year in Palm Springs at this festival, the major documentary festival, where we're going to make our premiere for European Tour 73. And really, like up until like almost, we had our plane tickets. We were going to go to the festival. We actually took Broken
Wow.
Palace there a few years ago, so we love this festival,
Wow.
and we were all set to go. And probably about a week before, they had to cancel the festival because that was just when things were really, the dominoes were really starting to fall. And then so that we had to, that then became the new reality, was when you wanted to get your film into a festival, it would have to, the festivals themselves were pivoted, would have to be online version. So with some subsequent festivals throughout this year, and that's been a good experience, in the sense that, I mean, it's like a give and take. You lose that physical contact that you get from being at a film festival and being able to talk to people and get that real visceral reaction of an audience and people to see and feel how they react to the film, which you don't get in an online film festival because you're not in a room and presenting the film and getting a Q&A after and getting people's feedback and emotions. So, but the on the positive aspect, because they're online, they're probably available to most people. Say if it's a film festival in Toronto, they might open it up to everybody online in Canada can view the movie. So the positive side is, if indeed the reason you make a film in the long run is to get as many people to see it as possible, you are getting a reach of an audience that you would never get if it was just locked geographically into that specific festival. And so we are getting more people. So now we're getting people from across Canada that are seeing European Tour 73 that are really like reacting to it and coming to us and saying what they think. And we're like, wow, okay, people from coast to coast now, say in Canada or United States, are accessing this film due to its online film festival availability. So I
That
mean,
is the positive
I'm
side.
looking. What's it? Yeah, and I mean, believe me, I'm looking forward to going back to actual festivals because I think there's a whole cultural thing and a personal thing. Like, you really like to go there and soak up the whole atmosphere of the city or the town or the environment and the people and the culture. So I mean, for instance, if we got invited to a film festival, let's say, somewhere in South America or something, or Europe, you're also really going to enjoy and experience that whole culture
Yeah,
of that
yeah,
city and
yeah,
country that no online festival is going to give you that replication of that, right?
for sure. But now we are composing with this thing. I would like
Right.
that you invite people to see where they can see European tour, because we can close it that. Wait,
Mhm.
if it's available in some platform, how can they get to that? And if you can invite it to your network, to your platform in Instagram, Facebook, YouTube,
Right.
etc. And where are the places where they can get to see really European Tour 73, which I love it, like I told you, because like to see the reality that you put not only with your family, with the reference of the time,
Right.
I told Maria in the plane, I find it that fantastic, the thing of the cigarettes and everything. That was like
Right.
what? Get back to the past to
Right.
compare with to the present, then invite the people to see where they can see European Tour 73.
Right. Well, thank you. And yeah, European Tour 73, our latest short documentary, as you're so kindly mentioning, and is we have been playing online festivals in North America. We've got some ones that we're waiting on hearing about that we're hoping that sometime in the next month or two we can start sharing that information about how, say, people from North America, maybe even other parts of the world, if it's going to be available online with those festivals, say depending what their global reach is for that online presentation of European Tour 73. So we will be announced that for sure. We do have, I mean, our social media, we're constantly updating it and and we're really on top of our social media. So if you follow, we will put all that information. If you follow, for instance, myself on Facebook, like Ross Munro on Facebook, you can like that and follow that. On Twitter, my Twitter is at Ross Brew, like at ROSSBREW. Also on Instagram, Ross Crow on Instagram. So yeah, we're like
And
all over.
Your YouTube channel,
Yeah, and
please.
our YouTube channel. Yeah. So Ross Munro Films, YouTube. So when we put everything on there, we update all our reviews, trailers, any information, clips of our movies, any information that's going on about upcoming screenings or where it's available for online. Any updating, we're very up to the minute with that. So yeah, so we're excited, and hopefully with European Tour 73, we can have some more really great film festival news about some great screenings in early 2021 and throughout 2021.
I am sure of that. I'm sure of that, because if even in this year, strange year, you had been doing that outside with all the virtual platform, I am sure that you will do it next year still. And I hope that you keep us update with next films. I know they're gonna have Maria to interview in the future next.
Sure.
But thank you very much, Ross, to keep the time for us today, for me today, and for the viewers of La Buena Ola Internacional 2.0.
Oh, thank you. My pleasure. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks to you, and we keep posting and keep updated, okay? Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And very much, lot of success.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
Yeah.